little one is out. And now going to hide behind some grass. There it is. And there are two adults here that I've seen so far. We came down here, let me move forward again. We came here, oh, there it is. We came here because we heard the adults calling. That's so sweet. I think this little cub has got such a pale face. I'm going to move around now. Just very gently ease our way through and around here. There are 3 adults here. And I so have missed spending time with hyenas. I'm just trying to get us into a position where I'm not going to skittle them. I think that's going to be about it, Ferg. I'm afraid I can't get any closer than that. So now we'll wait. The little one is still there behind the bush. He'll come out, I'm sure. I think it's a he, actually. I think he will come out. Here he comes. Hello. And completely fearless when the car's not moving. Isn't that fantastic? Going to see if there's an oil cap he can chew on. Hi, little guy. How's it? That's what we say in South Africa. How's it? What's happening in your life? Hey? What happened to your sister? Or brother? You're going to greet the other one, the adult? This is fantastic. Now, the reason I say I think this is a male, if you look at his penis or pseudo-penis, it's quite pinched at the end. You see that? Little pinching there. And very pale on the head. Now, during the TV shows, we named them Djuma and Lamula. Who this one is, well, that's anyone's guess. I think by the time those names were picked, we were already short one of them. Hello. Do you smell something that you like there? Perhaps an oil cap, as I said. Oh, there we are. So special. Now the adult there is looking a little bit reticent about coming towards us and seems to be blind in the right eye. I'd love to know who you think these are. Ribbon the mother, and who's that blind one? Looks like a male to me, just more slightly built, and very clearly not very young. And I must confess, it does give the hyena a slightly sinister look. Being blind in one eye. Isn't that interesting? Danielle, you're interested in why it is that these babies, it's gone under the car? Oh, no, there it is.
Fixing the tire.
Why on fixing the tire? It was very kind of it. Why they're called pups, at least cubs are not pups. Well, you say why they're called cubs. I'm assuming you think they should be called pups, or intuitively perhaps that looks like a pup. And the reason, Danielle, is that they are more closely related to cats than they are to dogs, and actually more closely related to mongoose, interestingly, which baby mongoose are called pups. But it's their relationship to the cats that gives them the name cubs. We're going adventuring a little bit now. One of the adults has gone off down this path. Now, Ribbon has just looked up in a slightly menacing fashion towards the blind hyena. And I think the blind one is very wary of Ribbon. I think that's not a dominant at all. Alright, we've got something very exciting for you now. We're going to stay right where we are, but Brentleo Smith seems to have found death on the plains. I can't show you the image right now. Let's stay here. Now, let's look at the male. He's at least at the cub, greeting the little one here. Definitely a male. Yeah, this is just fantastic to watch this hierarchy again. And remember, we spent so much time with these things, learning the hierarchy, learning who was dominant over whom, how they all fitted in with each other, and now we kind of have to start again because it's been so long since we've spent any time with him. Now, the reason I say that this one, to me, looks subdominant, or certainly less dominant than Ribbon, is the body language and also the way that he's kind of unsure about whether to come in or come out. I think he's male because he's more slightly built. He's not just a small hyena. He's blinded in one eye, he's got scuffed ears, and he's got quite a lot of, well, I wouldn't say a mangled skin, but there's definitely an indication of age in the way that his hips are sticking out. So I think that's a male. That's fantastic. Get out of your way quickly. Well, that's very adventurous for this young thing. Wonderful playtime. There we go, coming back, scuttling back. Oh, now something's happened. You see, as soon as there's any kind of irritation or any kind of threat or any perception of threat, it'll go scuttling back into the mound. And Ribbon, the mother, very comfortable, very sort of, comfortable in her place in whatever hierarchy they have. And I don't know, just looking at her face there and wondering if she hasn't had a good meal last night. It looks like it's got blood on it, to me. Yeah, maybe. Looks a bit messy. There's certainly a bit of a niff in the air around here today. There's definitely some blood there. And she's looking quite sort of rotund around the hips. I think she's probably eaten quite recently. The little cub is now under the car again. Now back again. And I'm sure, as with, I think, most young mammals, back again. With most young mammals, probably would have benefited from maintaining, or certainly being able to maintain a relationship with a sibling. And unfortunately, a sibling just not possible at the moment. We don't know what happened to the other one. I would say I'm very reticent these days to be definite about anything out here, but I would say almost certainly dead. Why or how, is anyone's guess. Danielle, this question that you've asked is a good one, and it's a really nice discussion point because it's so unusual in the mammal kingdom or mammal class. You say, why is it that the females are bigger than males? Well, from a purely physical perspective, the reason they're bigger is that they have a higher testosterone level, and so that and a genetic predisposition to size that the males do not have, and that's normally the case, of course, in... Oh, she's limping a bit. It's normally the case, or the opposite of the way it is with mammals. Of course, the males are normally bigger than the females in all mammals, including our own species. But the reason for it, the real why, seems to be that the hierarchy works very well like this, because the females dominate. You can see that happening right there. They're the ones that look after the youngsters. They're the ones that maintain the territory. The male's job is purely to act as a sort of mate or sperm donor, if you like, and then also to defend the territory against other males. Not necessarily against other females, because they'd get beaten up by other females. They do quite a lot of foraging. But the other thing that they are unable to do when being smaller than the females, is engage in infanticide. So they do not kill youngsters. And it's a feature of just about, well, a huge number of mammal species, that the males will kill unrelated youngsters that are not theirs. Well, obviously if they're unrelated, they're not theirs. But it doesn't happen in hyenas because the females are too big, and so the males don't ever get a chance. And so it actually works really well from a social point of view. Why it has only evolved in hyenas, I think, is unclear. But it is a very effective mechanism, and I think it probably has quite a lot to do with infanticide. Infanticide has driven a huge number of different mammal adaptations and social interactions, and I think you'll find that it's got something to do with that. But it means that the males play a very limited social role in the life, well, yeah, it is a limited role, social role in the life of the clan. And it means that they cannot hurt the youngsters, and as they are not primarily responsible for any kind of child rearing or cub rearing, it makes real sense that the females should be completely dominant. You might ask yourself, therefore, why it is that in other species it has not evolved. Leo, oh, here comes another one in. That's also a male. Might be a young female. That's a male. Leo, a clearly more dominant male than the blind one. Leo, you say, do their faces ever get permanently stained from feeding? Leo, I don't think so, no. I think they're all... I mean, probably eventually. I'm just going to sneak forward. Come on, car. I suppose that they might be slightly stained over the course of time, but I don't think anything like... perhaps like a dog's face might get stained from feeding on food that isn't particularly natural to eat. There they are. All three now. And ribbon is up. But surely over time, I guess, yeah, I mean, their muzzles probably do change slightly. Around about this time of the day, they often leave, the adults. I don't know where they go, because you very seldom find hyenas in the bush if you're walking. But it seems that they feel almost like if they're not going to be here to look after the cub and feed it and play with it, it's almost more advantageous for them not to be here, because the cub can go inside and sleep, and the smell of these adults doesn't attract other hyenas or other predators. She seems to have spotted something. Or she can smell something on the wind. Leslie, it's a difficult question to answer, but another nice discussion board. You say a hyena is the only species that are female dominated. Now, some of you will be thinking, no, Leslie, elephants are the same. They also live in a matriarchal society. They live in a matriarchal society, but it's not female dominated. A big bull will completely dominate any situation that elephants find themselves in. There's another hyena calling way to the south. And I'm sure part of the same clan, because they're not reacting negatively at all. So I don't know of any other mammal species where the females completely dominate the males, where they are bigger than the males, and where they are the ones that run the hierarchy completely. There are many mammal species where the males, or where the females are, or there are a few mammal species where the females live in female-dominated groups, but very few where in fact none that I can think of, where the females completely dominate the males in all forms of the hierarchy. So you can tell us if I'm wrong. I don't think I'm wrong. #Foreign Life is how you do that. Now, aka PT Watcher, you're wondering about the belly on the female ribbon, and that's not her there. I think this is a more dominant male than the blind one. There he goes. And you say she looks pregnant. No, she's definitely not pregnant. But they do get very heavy around the belly when they're lactating. And I think she's also just eaten. So both of those things will combine to make her look very kind of fat and pregnant. This is a younger hyena as well. Younger and slightly more dominant. Sorry, my head is really in the way here. Right, we're going to sit here for as long as we can. And while we do that, Tristan has left his elephants and he's got himself an amphibian.